women's funds to advocacy strategies is our second element. We know that the experience that our experience as women's funds and the experience of our grantee partners can help inform and shape this national debate. Also, we can't just sit back and wish that things were different and use limited resources to feel this continues to grow each day. We need both national and state governments to enact policies that are better for single women and their children. But we need to do that by raising our voices individually and collectively. And the last key element of the campaign is linking the experience of our grantees and the women they serve to the national policy. We need to tell the stories of economic hardship and economic opportunity. We need to be the voice of those who far too often have no voice in this debate, no face, and they have no way to elevate their voices for advocates for themselves. So we have to learn, we have to utilize our expertise to link women and the programs that are serving them to this national debate. As you can see, we have a lot of important work ahead of us. So now I'd like to introduce Amy Moy, who's the Interim Director of Communications and Marketing for the Marketing of the Women's Funding Network, who will share with you information about
And actually, I think Chris Grum was able to dial in. Chris, can you join us now?
I can indeed.
Thank you.
This is Chris Grum, and this is truly a global phone call because we're dialing in from Salzburg, Austria, where we're in a meeting. So I want to welcome everybody on the phone this morning. It's great to have you all with us. And we're thrilled to be here. Member funds. And we're very much aligned with changing a lot of move out of here. If you look at our 10-year strategic plan, our commitment is influence, investment, and impact. These kinds of strategies. Activating the leadership of women's funds to bring women-led solutions to tables of influence. Igniting the collective action of women's funds to bring about policy and systemic change. And leveraging our grant making to invest in solutions with the greatest impact. And the Women's Economic Security Campaign is an important lever in our action plan. Today is a call. It's a call that says we are ready to move into movement building mode. There are more than 25 women's funds represented on this call, along with donors, policymakers, activists, academicians, all coming together as important stakeholders to drive this agenda for change. This is the time to bring forth all of our vision around economic security for women and their families, because we know that if you look at a gender lens, when a woman is economically secure, her family is economically secure, communities become economically secure, and there goes the country and the world. This is our commitment through this campaign. We are excited about this launch and look forward to great results. Thank you, each and every one of you who are on the phone with us today, because we expect to move forward all together in the various areas that we work in the sectors that we work in, and bring great results for women and their families as we move forward to change the economic security into a positive rather than a negative. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. As it was noted in our webinar today, this is not only the launch of the Women's Economic Security Campaign, we are releasing our first national policy brief, Creating Opportunity for Low-Income Women in the Green Economy. You can see the lineup on our screen, and we're running a few minutes behind schedule, so let's jump into the panel. It's my pleasure to introduce Joan Kuriansky, Executive Director of Wider Opportunities for Women. Wider Opportunities for Women works nationally and in its home community of Washington, D.C. to build pathways to economic independence for America's families, women, and girls. WOW has a distinctive history in changing the landscape of women in work. WOW has been a grantee partner of the Washington Area Women's Foundation, one of our WOW members, and was last partners in the development of our Green Jobs Policy. I'll turn it over to Joan now to share our findings.
Joan, can you hear us? Joan, can you hear us? Well, we seem to have a little technical difficulty with Joan. I'm sorry to report. We can see that she's online, but not speaking.
So Amy, this is Shantae. Would you like me to go back up and talk a little bit about our resources until Joan can get on?
That would be great. And in the meantime, we will try to recontact Joan, and then if she does not join us, I will go ahead and do some of the high points of the report.
Okay. Back to slide 6. I just really wanted to talk about for the campaign some of the things that we have really been intentional about is where we needed to focus our energy and our resources. Areas, one of which you'll hear about today, which is the Green Policy Brief, our first of which we're launching. We're creating an opportunity for low-income in the green economy, and you'll hear about that in just a few moments. But we also have 2 other policy focuses. One is TANF, which is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, and the other is the CCDBG grant, which is the Child Care Development. This policy we will launch in early 2010. As many of you may be aware, TANF is the office. So we'll be starting 2010 with a policy brief that identifies the ways that this program needs to be changed and to ensure that more low-income women and their families can get out of poverty. The third policy focus we have is WIA, which is the Workforce Investment Act. We anticipate to start working on this policy brief in spring of 2010. One other thing I wanted to mention, and then maybe we have Joan on the line, is really the resources that we will be able to employ to different women's funds and organizations across the country. We want to utilize this campaign to put together resources for policymakers, for women's funds, for advocates across the country, and those resources would include the policy brief, again, the first of which will be released today. And these policy briefs really will help us describe issues and how they are related to low-income women and their struggle to get out of poverty. We'll do policy briefs on each of those focus areas that I mentioned just a second ago. We also have a website, which is www.womenseconomicsecurity.org, which you can visit. We're launching our website today. The website will be a wealth of information for our partners and ways for you to get involved in one of these 3 or all of these particular policy focuses. We also will have toolkits that will be available on the website, and these will be actual op-eds, newsletter blurbs, sample letters to the editor that women's funds and or organizations can utilize to help us as we prepare to release not only the policy briefs, but how we can then influence this national conversation about each of these particular policy areas.
Hi, Joan. Thank you. Thank you, Shantae, for filling us in on that additional detail. And we now have audio with Joan. So, Joan Kuriansky, please take it away.
Thanks so much. And can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, WOW is delighted to be part of this launch. It is truly historic, just as Chris mentioned. Let me tell you a little bit about WOW, although you did a lovely job in the introduction. We are now 45 years old and have been working on strategies to increase economic opportunities for women and girls since that time.